Here in New York, we have people running for governor who pledge, if elected, they will legalize recreational marijuana. Even our once reluctant governor wants to examine it. Now, out in Colorado, the governor there didn't really want legalized pot.
Like almost every elected official in the state, I was against it.
But voters in the Rocky Mountain state said yes, and Colorado's legal marijuana industry was born.
People should have access to cannabis for lots of reasons.
So if New York greenlights recreational marijuana, what else comes with that? We went to Colorado to find out.
Is it worth the trouble?
I don't know if I'd say it's worth the trouble.
Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper was originally against legalizing recreational pot in his state.
No one had ever taxed it, set up a whole regulatory framework. And to do that, and to be in conflict with federal law, I don't know, it's just not my idea of a good time.
But in November of 2012, Colorado voters said yes. And 5+ years later, the state's cannabis business is thriving. Example, Denver's Antique Road District, where you will find a number of pot dispensaries.
We have about a $1.5 billion marijuana industry in Colorado.
We'll get deeper into the marijuana profits and taxes tomorrow. Now, in the beginning, Hickenlooper had concerns about how legal cannabis might change Colorado. But
if I were to say overall, many of the worst case scenarios that we worried about haven't happened.
Among the concerns, that if you make recreational pot legal, you just wind up with more pot users, especially young underage users. Not true, says Dr. Larry Wolk, Executive Director of the Colorado Department of Public Health.
When people think about legalization, they think about starting from zero. That nobody's using marijuana, now we're going to legalize it, so now we're going to see this big influx of marijuana and users. And that's just not a realistic way to think about it.
You should know that every other year, the state of Colorado does a survey of young people called the Healthy Kids Initiative. It measures all sorts of behaviors, including use of alcohol and drugs. So far, based on survey data, there has been no big jump in underage marijuana use. Before Colorado legalized pot, 1 in 5 teens admitted to marijuana use. After legalization, same thing. 1 in 5 teens admit to using. But there is a very real danger for young users all the way up to maybe age 25. The pot being legally sold in Colorado and elsewhere is much more potent.
And almost every brain scientist I've talked to thinks that if your brain's rapidly growing and you take even just once a week this high THC marijuana, you run a very serious risk that you'll lose a sliver of your long-term memory, which is in essence your IQ.
Is it an oversimplification to say that you can smoke yourself stupid?
No, I think what we see is that you can smoke yourself stupid, and the marijuana that's circulating today is far different than the marijuana that I was exposed to when I was growing up.
And Colorado is doing a massive public education project on the dangers of marijuana use to young people aged 25 and under. By the way, at the other end of the age spectrum is the segment of Colorado's population that is lighting up more often, seniors. And there are some advocates who think legal marijuana may decrease illegal opiate use, but they are not seeing that in Colorado.
There's no evidence one way or the other as of yet. It's definitely a study question that we're looking at.
So back to Governor Hickenlooper and our original question. Is legalizing recreational marijuana worth the trouble?
I mean, it's a bunch of trouble. It's a lot easier now, though, because people, these other states, California, they come, they can take our laws, our mistakes, and they can pretty seamlessly, they can go from 0 to 60 pretty fast. So it's certainly not as much trouble as it was.
One of the many things Colorado had to continually address is the many forms of marijuana. Aside from just smoking, there are edibles like cookies and gummies. There's cannabis vaping